Hello and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what's coming to this week's edition of the North Coast Journal. I am your host, Tanya Schrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's news editor, Thadeous Greenson, and arts and features editor, Jennifer Fumiko-Cahill. Welcome to you both.
Hey, Tanya, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I hope everybody's having a great first week of December. It seems more like August.
It is a lot of sun, and I am thinking about bringing back parasols.
Excellent. I am all for it. And we can make them holiday themed.
Right? I mean, just like make it a little more goth.
Oh, very
Right?
nice.
Some dark parasols.
I am all for it. All for it. Well, and that brings us to some really exciting creative content that's coming to this week's cover. And Jennifer, you're going to go over it with us.
Yes, I am very excited to tell you that at last it is here, the flash fiction issue. All year I get emails from people who are like, when is flash fiction happening? What are you doing, flash fiction? And when our ads and announcements first roll out, there is always a flurry of stuff that comes in immediately. But then my favorite part of the flash fiction contest, it goes until lately we've been making the deadline Halloween, so that may skew spooky, but October 31st, 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:15, 11:45, people just barely get in to that midnight deadline, and I love to see it. I'm always thrilled to see, like, okay, when was the last one? This year, everybody was pretty early. Everybody was very on top of it because we didn't have anybody going later than 30 minutes up until deadline. So Congratulations, Humboldt.
And I love that you gave somebody a flex of getting in at 71 words for a beautiful tableau.
It's incredible. What people can do with 99 words, because that is our flash fiction limit, 99. Did some people send in 100 words? They did. But the 99 word fiction constraints really push people to think about your story like a lifeboat, right? And you have to only have the absolute essentials. And it really makes you get to the point, really makes you think about what the essential elements are to your story and really make it punch home quickly. And it's always fun to read. And first of all, I want to, before I get to our winner, the suspense. I just want to thank again our intrepid readers. We have our usual crew. They've become an annual crew. I don't even want to think about how long they've been doing it because I don't want to like have them think, oh, maybe that's enough. I want to keep them on the hook forever. David Holper, who, by the way, has a book forthcoming. First poet laureate of Eureka and always down to read some short fiction. We have the booklegger ladies, as I still think of them, even though Nancy Short has retired from running the booklegger with Jen McFadden, who is now the sole proprietress of Booklegger here in Old Town. And of course, Joanna Bauer, former Humboldt County children's librarian and lover of sci-fi and wild tales. I love this group partly because they have wildly different tastes. Sometimes they overlap. As you can see in the stories, they all come with comments at the end of them. And you can see why the judges picked this one or that one. Sometimes our tastes overlap. Sometimes we have one that we loved that nobody else loved. Sometimes when we're discussing it as a group, we're kind of like, oh, dang, maybe I love that one too. And I love getting together with them every year and discussing. This year's winner, I just loved, and it is the inspiration for the cover art by the delightful Renee Thompson, who used to be in our production department but has struck out on her own. And she's done this incredible image of a kind of a spooky skeletal mermaid calling to a sailor in a boat with all kinds of spooky skeletons in the water below with all the seaweed and everything. And it is inspired by The Birth of the First Siren, a story by Harmony Mooney, who I don't think we've had in the flash fiction issue before. I think she's a first timer, and it's really fantastic. Should I read it?
I think we could
I'm going to
hear
read it. Okay. The Birth of the First Siren by Harmony Mooney. The princess escaped the palace with enough to purchase a sailing vessel and a small crew for the journey. At sea, a whirlpool captured the ship and the sailors perished, but the princess became something else. She became part of the shipwreck and part of the sea. Over the years, the princess made that shipwreck her home, ate her fill of mollusks, crustaceans, seaweed, and sharks, learned to swim skillfully through the strong currents, sunbathed on the rocky coasts of the islands, befriended dolphins, mermaids, and ghosts, grew razor-sharp teeth and webbing between fingers and toes, hunted sailors with lullabies. What, girl? What? I love this story. It is wild. It is fairy tale. It's spooky. Everything that comes next is a lovely surprise. If not in narrative, it is a surprise in its description and what's included. And I just loved its brevity and its fantasy. So thank you so much, Harmony Mooney, and congratulations. You'll see all kinds of things in here. There are family stories. There are kind of reflections of childhood. There's one story that Joanne Bauer referred to as the bleakest thing she's ever read.
That was not hyperbole. Whew.
That was not hyperbole. That was bleak, but very well done. And likewise,
I definitely think the mansplaining story was my personal favorite.
Yes, I kind of don't want to spoil it for people.
I don't want to spoil that one, but that was definitely my personal favorite. And your comments just even brought it home.
There's a lot of dark humor and sort of sweetness, and there was one I really liked about siblings, and you know that thing where you do something and your sibling gets hurt and you're like, oh my God, don't tell mom. I love that. And it's always such a great reflection of Humboldt County and its imagination. So please enjoy it. Pick it up and congratulate the winners when you see them around town.
Oh, I enjoyed every single last word. It is definitely a treat again this year.
Yeah, I should say finalists. Sorry, it's all the finalists.
Finalists.
And then the one winner, Harmony Mooner. But congratulate them as you see them around town and maybe ask them to say more stories.
And I have to ask maybe a dumb question, but what is TK?
Oh, that's a mistake. It's a typo. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, okay.
It's a mysterious code, and you know who you are.
Okay. Okay. Little behind the scenes for everybody. Because I was sitting here noodling it last night. I'm like, I can't figure that one out. Okay.
That one's just on your advanced copy and hopefully not in print.
Okay. Fingers crossed, everybody. Well, before we move on to the news and get Thad back on the page, do you have any final thoughts about this year's flash fiction?
You know, I was surprised. We read them blind, I should tell you. We read them completely blind, no names, nothing. And other than the winner, they are this year presented in the order in which they arrived, which is kind of exciting for me because I'm an absolute nerd. And some of these folks made finalists with more than one story. And they did so totally without our knowledge. And so congratulations to them. And yeah, it was a delight to do.
Yeah, Mr. Morris was all over the page.
Right?
Fascinating and fantastic. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thank you to everybody who brought their creativity to this year's flash fiction. And with that, we're going to move over to our news editor, and Thad's going to bring us would you like to start with the Klamath story or wherever you'd like to begin?
Well, actually, let's start with the breaking news. We can
Okay.
kind of break some news here on this program, which we don't typically get to do. But the Humboldt County Elections Office issued its final post-election report yesterday on December 3rd, and reported that the race for 3 open seats on the Blue Lake City Council, the last of those seats, remains a dead tie. So Adeline Jones and Kat Napier both have 245 votes, with no more votes to be counted. So it begs the question of what happens now. So we caught up actually this morning with Blue Lake City Manager Amanda Manger, who informed us that the race will be decided on Monday. I'm sorry, actually, I believe it's Tuesday, December 10th, at the Blue Lake City Council meeting, where they will devise some random game of chance to figure out who the next council member is going to be. So that could be drawing straws or picking names out of a hat or flipping a coin. That part is yet to be determined, but it will be decided Tuesday.
Sorry, I'm very excited, and I would like to just put out my suggestion for rock, paper, scissors, or Uno.
I was going to say Blue Lake has a fantastic bocce ball place. Maybe they need to devise a way to bocce ball tournament this.
I think unless Blue Lake changes its charter, I think that it needs to it has to be a true game of chance. So bocce and Uno won't cut it. It's got to be something where zero skill at all is required.
I think Klingon deathmatch. Like, there's all kinds of ways that we could figure this out.
I think it's also important to note, as Kim Weir does in the story that went up this morning, that there were 400 plus undervotes in that race. So that means 400 people who filled out their ballot, did not either vote for 3 candidates, which they got to do for the Blue Lake City Council race, or didn't fill in that race at all. So any one of those 400 folks could have decided this council race. So underscores the importance of voting and the importance of understanding your entire ballot and filling it out correctly.
Yes, absolutely. Because here's that perfect opportunity that you would have had if you had felt comfortable voting for those candidates.
I was going to say that's what's going on out in Blue Lake, but you had asked about the Klamath story. We also in this week's edition have a wonderful story from Digital Editor Kimberly Wears again about some educational opportunities on the newly undammed Klamath River. She wrote about the efforts of, I think it's Save California Salmon, a nonprofit, and then the Karuk and Yurok tribe, as well as local educators, to kind of bring what's happening on the Klamath into local curriculums, specifically in the Klamath Trinity Joint Unified School District. So some of those lucky classrooms there have gotten to not only learn about this in real time, this removal effort, the largest in the nation's history, but have also gotten to visit the dam sites on numerous occasions. And so one class got out there before the dams were removed, so got to see, I think it was Iron Gate Dam and the reservoir there, and then got to return just, I believe just last month, to see where the dam stood and where the reservoir sat, and the new river channel, and also got to see some I believe Chinook salmon spawning up the river. So really cool to me, just in that it's teaching teaching kids the power of these restoration efforts, and then inherently in that there's also a piece of activism, and just showing them what efforts like the one that took place over generations on the Klamath to get these dams out can really do, and really seeing the impact in real time, which is just really cool.
And seeing the positive impact that they expected it to take a lot longer to start seeing the spawning take place, and for the salmon to find their way back.
Yeah, I think it's in the story. I think it's the vice chair of the Yurok tribe who notes that while some of the long-term projections were that it might take as many as 10 years to get salmon back up into the hundreds of miles of river and tributaries that were kind of newly unblocked with this dam removal effort, when in actuality it took 10 days for them to start recording salmon sightings in the Klamath Basin. So just a lot of really exciting stuff happening on the Klamath River right now.
And I was very moved to hear the reaction that these kids had to going out there and to seeing the dams there and then seeing the dams gone and seeing the impact that it's made on the area.
Absolutely. I was really actually struck by there was a teacher at Orleans School who was quoted in the piece, talking about how a lot of her students are of Yurok and Crook ancestry, and saying, that their ancestors were the stewards of the river, their parents are the current stewards of the river, and they are the future stewards of the river, and just the importance of kind of incorporating this curriculum into their classroom and getting them out of the classroom to see the impacts. I just thought was really, really very cool.
Absolutely. What a great story. And I appreciate Kim bringing it. I know this is very close to your heart since you've been working on it as well all these years. And amazing.
Yeah, I have to say, just on a personal note, every time we run one of these stories, especially now that the dams are down and these stories are about fish sightings and about, the really exciting things that are coming from this restoration effort, every time I see one, I'm just kind of reminded of how hopeless this thing felt at certain times when previous deals to remove the dams fell apart, and just kind of some of the despondence that was so widespread. So it's a true piece of good news. We got to hold on to it.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to need it. So let's take the wins.
Indeed.
Salmon for the win. And so with that, do you have anything else to share before I jump back to Jennifer to...
So we also have a views piece this week by Colin Fiske, who's the executive director for the Coalition for Alternative Transportation Priorities, about a kind of a field trip he and some folks took on the 4th and 5th Street corridor in Eureka. Basically a walking audit of safety, I was going to say safety features, but not really safety features, safety issues on the corridor. And so basically what these folks do, they get these orange vests on, they go out and kind of walk sections of town, in this case the two corridors, and just note all of kind of the safety hazards for pedestrians in these areas. And as Colin notes in his piece, there are a ton of them, as we reported on before, very, very dangerous stretch of road, particularly for pedestrians in Humboldt County. But I encourage folks to check that out, and it also has some information about how people can get involved with Colin's organization and future efforts.
I'll tell you, I appreciate this. I can't believe how they take their life in their hands, obviously, just trying to do an audit. It made me think of a video I saw not long ago where they put bricks on one side of an intersection and pedestrians hold a brick as they walk through. And I was like, I think it was Vancouver, British Columbia, but I'm like, can we bring that here? That like folks just warn people as they walk across, because
that's how I walk through town anyway.
It's almost going to have to get to that, because I appreciate that he reminds folks that pedestrians have the right of way.
Yes.
Do not run people down. Well, and real quick, with the time we have remaining, I believe Jennifer had a few teases for this week's journal as well.
Yes, other great reasons to pick up the journal this week include, for me personally, Colin Yo's rant on LED headlights. I feel you, Colin. Also, we have a great pair of reviews. We had calamities the week before and were unable to get to the opening nights of a couple of plays, but we have our intrepid reviewers out. Doranna, Benker, Gilkey, and Tiggerbouncer Custodio are both out with columns this week for Cinderella in Ferndale and The Games Afoot at NCRT. And they are both super fun holiday choices. I would say if you've got kids, this is the time to take them to see Cinderella, which Doranna explains how, okay, we know everything that's going to happen in this. It's the Rodgers and Hammerstein version, etc. But they do a lot of fun takes on the moments, and there's a lot of humor, and she felt like it was a really joyful presentation and is fun for all ages. If you are in a holiday mood, The Games Afoot takes place at a holiday party at an English manor, which is occupied by a theater troupe. That's right, drama on drama violence. And somebody gets killed, and the person who plays Sherlock Holmes, that's kind of the theater troupe's thing, is they are doing this Sherlock Holmes play. They are led in their investigation by the actor who plays Sherlock Holmes, sort of. And I won't spoil any more except to say that Tigger's favorite part was when they referred to a woman in the cast who is a play critic, as I think they called her rude and vile or something, and it's fantastic. So it should be really fun. And if you enjoy watching, British people getting murdered for your amusement, this is the one for you.
Watching British people get murdered for your amusement.
It's a different, right? It's a different kind of like the BBC sort of theatrical version. It's a little bit different than watching, say, Jodie Foster in an HBO series, right?
But is it really a murdered British person, or is it cake?
Is it? There's only one way to find out. But they're great shows, and I was really grateful for folks to pulling through, because we had all kinds of weather and health and visiting and all kinds of crazy things happening in the week of the bomb cyclone, you may remember. And
also called Bombogenesis, I just learned.
Oh, are you sure that's not sort of like new form of like reggae dance hall? Are you sure?
That's exactly what I said, but that is the technical term, the Bombogenesis. I think that there should be a reggae overtone.
Right? I would go to that show. Yeah.
All right, so we have just a little bit of time left, and Jennifer, any other teases?
Yes, last thing.
Right.
In the calendar this week, Colleen Kaziris, our calendar editrix, has scoured. If you are looking for holiday fun, she has got it. There are, if someone is lighting a tree in Humboldt County, Colleen Kaziris knows about it. If someone is representing Santa at an event, Colleen Kaziris has it. And you will find in the calendar everything laid out for you. So start with what we call the highlights in the top of it, and then scour through, because we are in that season now where the calendar is fat with events, fat with holiday stuff, and you just have to be ready. I don't want you to miss it. And yeah, we've already done the Ferndale tree lighting with the beans and linguiça and everything. So the rest of the trees are coming. Santa's coming to town. Better watch out, etc.
If folks don't know about the North Coast Journal calendar, this is a grand opportunity to make sure you are never bored in Humboldt County. Well, thank you to Jennifer. Thank you, Thad. It's great to have you back with us. And that wraps up our time for this week. The current edition of the North Coast Journal is available on newsstands now. Pick up your copy, read it cover to cover, or of course you can find it online at northcoastjournal.com. I am Tanya Schrum. Thanks for being with us and staying informed and supportive here in our North Coast community.